One of the interesting moves we're watching right now over the last few sessions is a drop in the euro. I'm wondering what you think of that, considering all of the assets you supervise that must be closely affected, and what the ECB can, should, or could do about it tomorrow.
Well, I'm not sure they're going to be overly worried. If you think of the euro over the last couple of months, it's actually been very, very stable. We've seen a modest weakening in the last couple of weeks, but nothing, I think, that will be of any concern to the ECB. I think more on their mind will be talking about the outlook. We know that they begin their quantitative easing tapering next month. That's well telegraphed, well explained, so that won't be a surprise. You know, interestingly, we're seeing some pickup in wage data across Europe, and I think as we listen to the press conference tomorrow, it'll just be to what extent Draghi emphasises that and perhaps tries to amend or adjust those expectations you talked about rate moves at the end of next year. It does seem that they're pretty comfortable with the timing of what is priced in, and I think the key element that we'll be focusing on, as will be other market participants, is their own forecast for growth and inflation. We think there's a modest chance that we see a small downward revision to both growth and inflation for next year.
Okay, Andrew, good morning. That's interesting then that you see the possibility of that tomorrow, because you do seem to have a slightly more hawkish view than the market in terms of when we get that first rate hike from the ECB, talking about the end of 2019, possibly a little earlier than that, whereas some in the market say, look, it's not coming till 2020. Why do you think you've got that slightly more hawkish view? Well,
I think we have a more hawkish tone because, you know, Draghi, of course, is stepping down. I think it's pretty clear that they would like to get out of these negative rates. I think you see it from the German contingent. And the wages I mentioned before are interesting, right? We're starting to see pickup on wages. We know the German labour market is tight, but looking at Italy and France, some wage pickups there. And I think, you know, the ECB will be conscious of that. And again, we're still talking a year away. It's not imminent, but, you know, I think they'll be looking at those numbers closely. If we see some continued tightening in the labour markets in Europe, that might be the, you know, catalyst for them to get back to zero. We're only getting back to zero.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get too overexcited, Matt.
Could we see, if I look at the Italy spread, or a lot of the peripheral spreads, really, they had ballooned out. I've got Italy over Germany here, so you can see, I'm sure you already know what I'm talking about, but they're coming back down, especially as Italy softens the rhetoric. Could we see them go back out if the ECB really starts to taper or stops to buy in these markets?
No, I think not. I don't think that is the catalyst. Obviously, the widening was around the political uncertainty in Italy. I think there's been some more conciliatory comments from the new Italian government. And I think there's likely to be a degree of forbearance from the rest of Europe around what's going on in Italy. So I think this is just a reflection that, you know, this new government, and of course there was a lot of uncertainty about that alliance. If we were here 3 months ago, we would have been quite concerned about that alliance. So I think the market's getting comfortable with that risk. I think the new government is, as I said, being somewhat more conciliatory. You know, I think for us still, Italy poses a risk. It's a further down the road risk, but the rating agencies are the critical element here in terms of any potential downgrades. But as long as, you know, they can find a way through the budget, get approval from the EC, then I think we should see further tightening of those spreads.